Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Dr. Glenn Vo. Man, I am super excited to have someone who I've been following for years. I consider him one of my mentors. I've been since like 2005, and I think he was like a senior in dental school at that time or whatnot. But following since then, been to a lot of his seminars, met him personally, been to his house, which I think I've been in that room before. I've been to his house because if you guys have gone to the seminar, Scott always opens up his house. But Dr. Scott Leune, there's really no introduction needed here. Scott, what's going on, man? Happy to have you back on.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back. I'm really excited about this.
You know, what's really exciting now is, COVID kind of put a damper on everything, right? Like, I mean, we had the shutdown, like the live events, all these different things, but now we're back in action. The seminars are going live again. There's a great event that we're going to talk about in a little bit, but I want to kind of bring back to, we're recovering from the pandemic, 2022, people are recovering, getting things back to normal. And I wanted to talk to you about like what we can do as dental practice owners to really just continue that momentum and really end this year on a high note. So that's what I want to talk to you about. We want to pick your brain about those things, Scott.
Yeah, that sounds great. I've got a ton of things to say if you want to go down that path.
Awesome. So I know there's three things that you're really really passionate about when it comes to like growing a practice. So I'm going to give you the floor to talk about those things, and we'll talk through those things. And guys, if you have any questions for Dr. Leune, type it in the chat. But you definitely want to stick around because we got a super nifty deal. You probably already seen it. You definitely want to take advantage of that if you want to ask these questions in person. Okay, so Scott, I'm going to give you the floor here. Let's talk about those three things that you're kind of passionate about when it comes to growing a dental practice.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go through the three things. It gets a lot more complicated though, but let's start with the foundation.
Yeah.
Growth in a dental practice comes from increasing our patient flow. It can also come from increasing how much dentistry is being diagnosed or the types of dentistry that's being diagnosed. And it also comes from increasing case acceptance. So more patient flow, more diagnosis, more case acceptance. However, just because we might increase one of those doesn't mean we necessarily grow. We have to make sure we have room in our schedule to allow for that growth to happen. And our ability to increase any one of those three things is pretty straightforward. But if we are getting bogged down by other issues in our practice, it can pull us away from our own ability to even implement anything. Like, are we getting bogged down for the fact that we can't find new staff members, that it's costing us $50 an hour or whatever to hire another hygienist? Or we haven't systemized things, or we're spread too thin and emotionally drained. Like, all of those things impact our ability to even do the most straightforward, simple changes we need to do to grow. So it's a very big conversation. It could be a very big conversation on what to do. But of course, for this format, I think making it straightforward, simple. Let's assume you're not emotionally imploding and that you really are ready to implement something new. There's a handful of things that you can do that impact patient flow and diagnosis and case acceptance, all of which will cause growth for the rest of this year.
I think it gets really complicated too, because someone just messaged me. They're like, yeah, I hear that, and I have issues with my associates. And I just thought about that when you were saying there, because it's one thing to be the practice owner. You're the main dentist. You're also the visionary. You have all these hats, and it's one thing to keep yourself in check, right? And then like what this doc just messaged me here, it's another thing to also make sure that you have the associates in line with everything, mentoring them, but also having them just staying within the system, the confines of the practice. That could like either help you scale or help you sink there. Let's just take that comment and run with that. Let's talk about some associates.
So it's very normal for me to say the opposite of what people think or want to hear. So I have employed so many associates over my career. I don't even know, 100, 200, 300. I don't even know. And what I've learned is that there's a huge variability between dentists when it comes to the ability to produce. Most dentists want to do great work. Of course, some dentists can do certain procedures, some dentists can't. There's always the outliers, the people that are amazing and the people that are horrible. But really, when you look at associate dentists, there's a lot of variability in how they produce. And what I've learned is to stop trying to change the dentist, but instead change everything around the dentist to create kind of like this wave of success they just ride on. Yeah. And some of those dentists will turn that wave into an amazing moment of success. And others, it'll be less amazing, but it'll still be a moment of success. What's hard is to try to get an associate dentist to change how they are and who they are to fit within what you think the box should be. That's difficult. Hopefully, the majority of associates are open-minded enough to ride a wave of change with their own skill set and be better. Sometimes, of course, we have the wrong associate. But early in my career, I always thought I had the wrong associate. Now I realize that really, if I'm going to make this work, I need to put it on me and do everything I can around that dentist so that whatever skill set they have becomes even better. And for example, if we change our payment options, will that associate have higher case acceptance? If we change how we market and change how we handle the phones, will we get more patients no matter who that associate is? Or if we implement something like artificial intelligence software and allow patients to see the decay that way, will that associate diagnose more and have higher case acceptance, no matter who they are? That's a lot different than saying, hey, Dr. Smith, associate, I need you to do better. That is very difficult. That is not something that is predictable, at least not in my world.
I love that. I love that approach. And again, I'm glad that you kind of just reiterated that sometimes you kind of go against the grain. You kind of do things to stop it. But I agree with you there because it's so much easier to have the right support, have the right tools to help a doctor succeed. They come in there and try to turn them into another Dr. Luna, another Dr. Vo. Like that doesn't happen, right? Like we tried that with our kids. Okay, that doesn't happen. We all know that. Okay. But again, I love the fact that you brought out these tools. And again, I just recently had the CEO of one of the AI companies, Pearl, on and talking about that. And I love the fact that that tool, and there's other tools out there, kind of helps streamline everything. You have a fan in the audience here, and she says the rising tide lifts all. Such a great idea. So I wanted to put that there. Yeah, rising tide lifts all ships and whatnot. So, let me ask you this, Dr. Luna. So again, like having the right tools, having the right systems, what about just making sure the team is highly trained and all that put together? Doesn't that help out with the associates as well? Just making the experience a little bit easier for them.
Again, I'm going to say the opposite of what everyone wants and thinks. Yes, of course, theoretically on paper, in an ideal world, being able to find highly qualified team members with wonderful attitudes who never get sick on Fridays is ideal. And having them super trained and creating this environment around an associate where they have all the amazing support they could ever want. Yes, that's great. That's wonderful. That's just not realistic. If our model relies on incredibly skilled and trained and experienced employees, then we have an incredibly expensive, incredibly difficult model to implement. Wow. I instead would like to simplify the practice so that I don't need rock star skilled people for team members. I would rather have very good, thoughtful, emotionally mature team members that may or may not have ever done something super complicated in dentistry. The more simple we can make the steps of our practice, the easier it is for everyone to achieve success. So instead of focusing heavily on how do I train someone to be a guru of a treatment coordinator, I'd rather change our payment policies and our communication around insurance so that someone off the street maybe could be a treatment coordinator. When you think about these three areas of growth, patient flow, diagnosis, case acceptance, I don't want any one of those three to be reliant on some amazing person. What I instead want to do is make some simple, effective decisions. So how do I get more case acceptance? Okay. Implement a payment option for patients with poor credit. That would be one way. Implement this artificial intelligence software where patients see it before a dentist even diagnoses it. Right? That's one way. right? Or even, it's going to sound maybe crazy to some people. I don't know if you realize, but there's one room in the practice that has the highest case acceptance percentage compared to all the other rooms. And it has to do with the psychology of sales, but that's the operatory. So if we present finances in the op, we naturally get a higher percent case acceptance than if we walk the patient to the front, to the money room, and sit them down and make them now have the conversation, right? None of those things rely on some incredibly skilled person. If I look at diagnosing more dentistry sometimes is being very clear about what our preventative diagnostic policies are. For example, if anyone has a cavity, they're at high risk for decay. So that means anyone might need fluoride sealants if they have a cavity, not just children. Or maybe when we see an abstraction lesion, we're not just going to diagnose a class 5 restorative. We're going to also maybe diagnose an occlusal equilibration and a night guard to treat the cause of the abstraction. Or maybe diagnosing more dentistry has to do with putting a second TV in the op so that we take a photo of the patient's front teeth and we compare them to a perfect smile and we let the patient ask us what we can do to help them. That TV doesn't require a skilled person.
Yeah.
Or maybe diagnosing more dentistry is taking a course on MyoBrace so we can treat little children with appliances, or we can take a course on using a Hawley retainer with a spring to fix an anterior crossbite, or take a course on sleep apnea therapy, learn new procedures. That doesn't require a highly skilled employee. And that's diagnosis and case acceptance, right? On the new patient flow side, we can utilize social media influencers locally. We've done that now multiple times, where for $200 or $300, you can have a local influencer come in, go through the office and post about the practice, and they then influence people from their mom groups to then come in as well. We could use something like ClickFunnels, do funnel type marketing and style marketing to increase specialty procedure leads coming into our practice. Or we can have a virtual call center, answer all the phone calls from new patients that we miss so that they're saved. Like, all of those decisions don't rely on an amazing associate. They don't rely on some amazing guru of an employee. What it is an informed CEO actually making a real decision to do something simple that works. And if we as CEOs think of like a wish list of things we want done, first, I hope that they either put out a fire or they influence patient flow diagnosis and case acceptance. But if we create this wish list and we rank them from least disruptive to most disruptive, then let's do them in that order and let's put them on a schedule and actually be effective. And it could be as simple as hire that software company, add that payment option, right? Change my marketing here. They're all easy to do. The hard thing is not doing them. The hard thing is being mentally focused enough, drowning in the muck for a little bit, be a CEO for a $5 million company and actually get something done. And that's how I view kind of the strategy around practice management. Let's make this simple, and let's have it be based on a model that doesn't require outliers of people, outliers of dentists, outliers of treatment coordinators that are amazing. No, let's make it reliant on just simple decisions. Does that make sense?
No, it makes 100% makes sense. And again, like, I love the fact that, and we got most of the message. You actually cut out a little bit, but that's okay. We got most of the message there. But what I love about that is that that's completely different. And that's something I've learned from you, just interacting with you over the years. It's completely different from what other people say. They're like, you want to pay a premium a salary for these rock stars. You need to get these rock stars in, all these things. And what ends up happening is you become dependent on highly skilled rock stars to to run your practice, when really you just got to make it easy for anyone to come in. That's, if you look at any business, they have all these systems where anyone can just slide in. They follow the systems, they follow the protocol, and you can run your business. So somewhere along the line, we just kind of, in dentistry, we felt like, okay, we have to get this person who can only do this. We have to get this. And what ends up happening, yeah, you were just saying it gets really expensive. And when that person's gone, it's hard to replace those type of people.
I'm sorry, maybe I'm just dumb. But
you're not.
I can't look at someone and tell they're a rock star.
Yeah.
They can all sound like a rock star in an interview, but I don't know. I'll tell you that in my history of business, like we might have 850 employees right now. When I look at who are the rock stars in my business life, they've always been people that didn't start at that position, but grew into it. Rarely has it been someone that we've gone out and said, let's hire a rock star. Oh, we found one. Now they're our rock star. And also, if you see, I kind of view, in a way, managing people like you're a personal trainer. Mm-hmm. Your role really is to give them the tools and the environment that encourages them to become the best version of who they are. Right. So I can tell you, like, if I don't have a personal trainer, I don't work out. I hate working out. But because I have a personal trainer, I show up and she says, Scott, do the lunges. And I'm like, okay. And I do the lunges and I become a better version of myself. And that analogy applies to business. These lunges, right, are the things we need our team to do. And if they do them, they're rock stars. The problem is, a lot of times in dentistry, our team members aren't actually doing what needs to be done. They are reacting to other things. They're slowing other things down. What we need to do is we need to be very clear with team members. I need you to do these 12 things every day, every week, every month. And I am going to audit it to make sure it was done. And when it's not done correctly, that's fine. We're going to correct it together. If it's not done correctly a second time, that's fine. We're going to train together. And if you're still not doing it, that's not fine. You're the wrong person. And when you have that in place, it gives the employees the support they need to actually do what matters. And when they're the wrong person, you find out pretty quickly. Now, you mentioned, people say, you need to pay well to bring in rock stars. What we do is we pay really well to keep our rock stars. And our rock stars in your practice may not even be a rock star, but in our system of being their personal trainer, they show up and lift weights every day. And so they look like rock stars. They are a rock star in this environment, and they don't need a bunch of experience. But also, let's not forget, there's different business models.
Sure.
So if you run a practice with a business model that uses assisted hygiene, you need less hygienists. And your one hygienist that you might have is producing a lot more. And your practice has more profit and can afford to share a portion of that profit with that high producing assisted hygienist. And therefore, she becomes a rock star that never wants to leave. Even though she's assisted, which some hygienists don't like, this particular hygienist is the right fit. She's making more money than she's ever made. And our business model doesn't rely on us finding yet more hygienists. If we outsource phones, outsource billing, outsource insurance, then we've dramatically simplified what happens inside of our practice. And we are less reliant on hiring more and more people. All of you on this video that are experiencing problems finding employees and then having to pay more than you're used to, I don't have that problem because I don't hire employees for insurance verification. It's outsourced to a company who is not hard to find and their costs aren't skyrocketing. So sometimes our business model makes things more difficult for us. Sometimes our assumptions are making things more difficult for us. I'm a big believer in doing what's simple and proven that makes money, right? That's what I do. That's what we teach.
I love that. I love that. And I mean, all the things that you've talked about, I mean, I've heard it. I've actually been to the business seminar. And audits is actually one of the many things I've learned from Scott over the years. And again, how do you know if something's working? How do you know if people are doing things? You gotta audit it, right? Just like now, like the government just hired like 87,000 new people to look over our shoulders, right? You're gonna get the audit that they're doing audits, right? So Scott, I want to talk about this. Obviously, a lot of things that you just said there, it really focuses on like making sure that the practice owner is an effective leader who knows how to make these decisions, and that's something that you kind of talk about in your seminar. So talk more about that. About yes, you wanted to open a practice. Yes, I know you just want to do dentistry, but when you open a practice, you also signed up to be a leader as well. So talk about that.
Sure. Well, a dental practice has two requirements. It must provide excellent clinical care, and it must have excellent profitability. And if one of those things don't exist, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
To have excellent profitability, at some point, we have to be an excellent leader from the business standpoint. I'm not talking about we have to be charismatic, we have to be influential. No, I'm talking about we could be very bland, not exciting, not influential, but do the right thing as the leader of the company to make sure that we're healthy financially. And when we think about doing the right thing, it can be as simple as 28 things we do a week, like 28 simple steps. We just got to do them every week. And if we think about it that way, if those 28 things could take care of almost every problem that could potentially happen, if those 28 things could prevent issues, if those 28 things can ensure that every month we grow, if we could just believe that leading is action, it's a step, and there's 28 things we got to do, then we can put those 28 things on a sheet of paper, and all we got to remember every month is to just look at the freaking sheet of paper.
Yeah.
And do those 28 things, right? Things that fall out of that, we handle on a one-off basis. Like, okay, my dental assistant got the Friday COVID. Got it. That's not one of the 28 things we're checking for. Now we got to handle that one thing. The problem is dental offices, for the most part, aren't doing their 28 things ever. And so then you get incipient business decay that grows and grows and grows and grows until it's a blowout. And then your whole desk is covered in sticky notes, right? Like that's basically the method of leadership most of us dentists have because we're just busy cutting teeth all day long.
Yeah, yeah.
So if we were to just understand that every role in a practice could be a list of tasks, including our own, and we get those tasks on a sheet of paper, then we got to make sure we know the right way to do them and that we create the time to do them. We don't need a lot of time. 20, 30 minutes a day max can run a multi-million-dollar practice, no problem. I see a lot of dentists getting addicted to information. And they think that the secret is to learn the right way of doing something, to learn the new way. They're seeking for what they don't yet know. The problem with that is that they already know enough to change their own freaking life and to make their practice better. They know enough. Those of us intellectuals that get addicted to eating up in more information sometimes never actually do a darn thing with the information. So if I make this even more simple, I'd say, learn the 28 things you got to do in a decent way, then commit to doing them, and hire a personal trainer if you need to, some sort of business coach to check in with you to make sure you're actually doing them. That will completely change your life. Imagine, for example, you did that on the personal side. You said, okay, every day I'm going to work out. I'm going to eat this for breakfast. I'm going to have this moment with my spouse. I'm going to do this with my kids. And you agree to do it. And now you've got a coach calling you up every week saying, hey, have you done it? Have you done this with your children? Have you done it? Have you created the will you need to create? If someone was influencing you to do those things, you could see within a month your whole life has changed. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's just let's erase everything pulling our emotional space away from us and just recognize that running a dental practice is a handful of steps. We just haven't made time to do them, and we haven't created a tool to help us. And if we could just do that everything, it's a domino effect. Everything else falls into place. One more thing, the average practice that does a startup, the average startup practice on our model, by year 3, that dentist is taking home 800 grand. By year 3, that's the average. Yet we live in a world that says dentists take home 140, 160,000. And if you're really successful, maybe you're at 300,000, 350,000. Yet our average is 800. And that's a 3rd year practice. What's that practice going to do in year 5, in year 8, in year 12? And how has the life of that owner changed? What trajectory are they on? So understand, like, there's a whole world out there of dentists taking home $1 million a year or more, take home pay. And they're not working 5 days a week doing all on 4 cases. They're doing normal cases. Do you know, to take home 800 grand a year, the dentist is doing about 6 grand in production a day. Then you got the hygiene department on top of that. How do you do 6 grand in production a day? You do one bigger case, like an implant case, an ortho case, sleep apnea. You do one, and then you got about 2 grand of bread and butter every day. Mm-hmm. If you can market and convert the big case, and you can maintain a schedule of the bread and butter while keeping your overhead reasonable, you take home $1 million. It's not difficult. It just takes putting the right puzzle pieces together to make that puzzle. And too many of us are emotionally distracted from the dental day and from the dental stresses because we allow incipient decay to blow up into massive fires.
I absolutely love that, the incipient decay, and it blows up into a bunch of sticky notes. I absolutely love that. So guys, I mean, if you're not hyped up from what you just heard from Scott, each time I talk to this man, I'm always like freaking hyped up, Just imagine what you would get if you were actually at one of the business seminars, right? But I'm not going to even just stop there. Just imagine being at an event in Las Vegas with the likes of like Darren Hardy, right? Some amazing speakers there. I'll be there as well. Scott, just talk about the business seminar that's going to happen in Vegas.
Sure. Yeah, once a year, my parent company, Dental Whale, we put on this huge business event for dentistry. It's called the Business Immersion Summit. You can read about it at summit.dentalwhale.com. Summit.dentalwhale.com. It's a big business immersion summit. Maybe 1,000 dentists are there, 45 or so breakout sessions, all geared towards the business of dentistry. We have keynote speakers, including Darren Hardy. Darren Hardy, just to put him into perspective, Tony Robbins is his student. Tony Robbins is the student of Darren Hardy. One of my board members has made $1 billion multiple times from scratch. And he is Darren Hardy's student, right? So that's this guy, Darren Hardy. He's a keynote speaker. We've got a lot of other speakers, all very well-known, very talented people. It's 2 days, Friday, Saturday, in Vegas, just surrounded with value. It's not some ridiculous, like conference on how to sharpen your instruments and the latest bonding agent out there. No, this is about stuff that you walk away from it seeing the business side of dentistry a lot differently. And because there's so many sessions, you can really customize your experience. If you're someone that wants to own multiple locations, you can go to those types of breakout sessions. Or if you're someone that wants to be fee for service and just work 2 days a week and take home, 800 grand a year, you can go to a different series of sessions. So I'm very proud of the type of experience that we create every year with this summit. And we're doing it in September 23rd and 24th. I'll actually be there right before that, giving one of my business master's courses. Yeah. It kind of bleeds into the summit. So you'll see me and you'll see all of my business master's attendees finish up our course and then, dive right into the deep end on the summit and swim with you guys. But it's a really cool event.
Awesome. And guys, I'm sharing my screen here. 43 days until this happens, right? Now, here's the great news. The great news is, let me go ahead and stop this share here. The great news is we already have a Nifty deal. I already posted in the group. So again, if you want to go to the seminar, you got that the day before. And then after that, I mean, what better way to you're going to get hyped up, right? Going to the seminar, and then you're going to get an even bigger high when you go through all this at the Dental Wealth Summit, Business Immersion Summit. So I'm super excited about it. I'm super excited about be there. And honestly, like the ARIA, not too bad of a place.
Yeah, but Glenn, people are hyped up, but we're not all dancing and doing this fake BS, like, hey, get all hyped up kind of stuff over nothing. People get hyped up by the end of it because they recognize they've gotten all the ahas that they hope to get. So I tell people I'm not a motivational speaker. I just tell the truth, the good truth and the ugly truth. But when you can see a new vision and you feel like you've been given tools you need, information you need to now go down that path, that's the honest getting hyped up. And that's what people experience at our events. Not what I hate, going to events with this faux hype, this false sense of excitement that is not real. It hasn't been earned.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. I love that, Scott. And Scott, before I let you go here, I know you're a busy guy. I do want to share a story with everyone. It's something I learned from Scott, and I want to tell him personally right here. So one of the biggest things I learned when I met with Scott, like 3 years ago in San Antonio, drove down, hung out the whole day with him. What I was so impressed by, he shared a whole bunch of stuff, right? He shared a whole bunch of stuff here. But the one thing that I took from our meeting is that he scheduled his day around his family. He picked up his kids. I mean, he dropped them off every morning. And he told us, hey guys, I'm gonna pick up my kids. So we're gonna eat lunch and I'm done. I'm gonna go pick them up. But he stuck to that. And I said, dude, like, is that your schedule, man? Like, don't you have he was like, yeah, I tailor my schedule to my family. Sometimes I have to go volunteer at the church. Sometimes I have to be a soccer coach. I tailor my schedule. And that was an aha moment for me. Scott, I want to tell you that one thing kind of changed my life because that's what I started doing. I started adjusting my schedule to accommodate. I drop off my kids in the morning. This is their first day of school. Drop them off, and I'm picking them up later today. And so I want to let you guys know that sometimes whenever you're going into your practice or whatever your business is, you feel like you're chained to that business, but you're actually the master. You're in control of everything. That's actually one thing I learned from you, Scott. So I wanted to give you a shout out while you're here.
Well, Glenn, that's awesome. I mean, I'm so happy to hear that. You know that I give my leftover time to my company. So I've learned to prioritize health, family, relationships, and fun over my company. And what's so interesting is when I then put my company in a box, I end up learning how to make way more money in that box and make much smarter decisions than when I let my company eat me away and everyone else got what was left over. Because unfortunately, the business, our careers can be very selfish, not for us, but for the career. The career will eat anything it sees and we will justify it. We will get sucked into it and we become handcuffed to it. And I don't think any of us said, I want to go to dental school so that I can just be known as a dentist for the rest of my life. I think most of us said, I want to go to dental school so it'll give me the fuel I need to live this other big life that I want. So one thing I do when I coach people is I really look at how healthy and happy they are outside of dentistry. And when needed, we go in an ideal way, structure the day and the week so that the priority is around health, happiness, family, and relationships. And whatever's left over, we then have a very innovative, smart way to make a bunch of money in that tiny little box we put our career in. And it's a really cool exercise to go through. And if you commit to it, your life is definitely different.
I 100% agree. Scott, I mean, there's nothing else to say after that. Scott, thank you so much for jumping on. Guys, I'll have all the links for the summit, for the event. You definitely want to be there. I will be there. Super excited to be there. And hopefully we can all see each other in Vegas. So thank you so much, Scott.
All right. Thank you very much.